The morning began with a stillness that felt unnatural. The town square, usually filled with the sounds of wagons and voices, was hushed. Only the scuff of boots on stone and the low murmur of gathering townsfolk disturbed the silence. The air was cool, damp with the scent of last night's rain. Low clouds hung like a heavy curtain, dimming the light and pressing down on the narrow streets. Nothing about the sky promised warmth or comfort. It was a day built for endings. At the far end of the square, a wooden platform loomed, its beams darkened by years of use. At its center sat the block, scarred and stained. Beside it rested the axe, its edge sharp, its purpose undeniable. The man who would wield it stood nearby, waiting. The executioner's face was hidden beneath a black hood, his arms bare and thick with muscle. His hands rested on the axe's handle, calm and steady. He was not feared because of who he was, but because of what he represented, the unyielding hand of the law. Around the square, villagers gathered. Mothers held children close. Tradesmen still in their aprons crossed their arms, and the elderly leaned on their sticks. No one laughed, and no one jeered. The silence was heavier than any shout. Everyone knew what was about to happen. The condemned was a young woman named Anna. She was no hardened criminal, no terror to the people. She was remembered by some as the baker's daughter, by others as the quiet figure who once carried baskets of bread down these same cobbled streets. But whispers had spread. She had spoken against those in power, some said. Others claimed she had been accused of crimes she could not defend. Whether guilty or innocent, the verdict was the same: execution. She was led into the square by 2 guards. Her wrists were bound with coarse rope that rubbed her skin raw. She walked slowly, her head bowed, her hair falling in tangled strands around her face. Her lips were pressed together, tight and pale. The people watched. Not one voice called out. Some felt pity. Some felt relief that it was not their name read aloud at judgment. In the silence, her footsteps seemed loud, echoing on the stone as she climbed the wooden steps to the platform. The rope was cut. She rubbed her wrists, trembling. She stood small and fragile before the block, a figure against the weight of law. The executioner raised his hand, gesturing for her to kneel. His movements were practiced, patient, almost ritualistic. He had seen fear before. He expected quiet tears or desperate prayers or weary acceptance. But Anna did not move. Her chest rose and fell too quickly. Her hands clutched at her arms as though holding herself together. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to pause. And then, she screamed. It was not a word, nor a plea, but the raw sound of terror. It cut through the silence of the square like a blade. Mothers pulled children closer. Men shifted uneasily. The guards stiffened. Anna's cry rang out again, sharper, louder, shaking even the executioner for the briefest instant. And then she turned. She ran. Her feet slammed against the wooden boards, then down onto the cobblestones below. Her arms stretched forward as though she might grab freedom out of the air itself. Her hair whipped behind her as she pushed through the stunned crowd. Gasps erupted. The people stumbled aside, parting instinctively. Some shouted her name. Others simply stared as she broke free from the square. The executioner wasted no time. He snatched up his axe, leapt from the platform, and gave chase. His boots struck stone, each step measured, relentless. Anna tore through the streets, past market stalls where fruit and bread lay untouched, past the church where bells hung silent, past doorways where families leaned out to witness the commotion. Her breath came in ragged bursts, her chest burning. Behind her, steady as a drumbeat, came the sound of pursuit. The executioner did not falter. He did not slow. He was not frantic. He was inevitable. For a brief moment, it seemed she might outrun him. Each corner turned, each street crossed, added distance between her and the shadow at her back. Her heart raced with fragile hope. But the body can only endure so much. Her lungs ached, her legs weakened, her vision blurred. The stones beneath her feet caught at her steps. And then, suddenly, she stumbled. She fell hard onto the cobblestones. Her hands scraped against the ground. Tears and dirt smeared her face. She gasped, sobbing, clawing at the earth as if it might let her sink into safety. The executioner's shadow fell across her. His breath was calm, his grip steady as he reached down. He did not strike her there. Instead, he seized her arm and pulled her upright. Her body shook, her struggles weak and fading. He turned her back toward the square. The crowd, drawn by the chase, now lined the edges of the street, silent and pale as they watched the condemned woman return. The walk back to the platform was slow. Anna's body sagged, her strength drained. Each step was guided by the executioner's firm grip. The crowd parted once more, though this time no one gasped, no one cried out. Only silence followed her return. Back on the platform, she was no longer the woman who had screamed and fled. She was broken, trembling, her face streaked with tears and dust. Her hair clung damply to her skin. Her voice was gone. The executioner gestured once more to the block. This time she obeyed. Her knees buckled as she lowered herself. Her hands touched the worn wood. Slowly, heavily, she laid her head upon it. The axe was lifted. The square seemed to hold its breath. No bird sang. No wind stirred. The world itself waited. And then, it was done. The crowd dispersed slowly. People walked home with heavy steps, their eyes lowered. The story of Anna's crime was already fading. What remained was not the sentence, nor the law that had demanded her death. It was the scream. It was the chase. It was the sight of a woman running, desperate, wild with hope, if only for a moment. Years later, the tale would still be told, not because Anna was guilty, nor because justice had been served, but because, for those few moments, she had fought against the end. She had run. She had screamed. She had shown them all the terrible, beautiful weight of wanting to live. And so the story was passed down in low voices, in taverns and by hearths, in whispers to children who asked too many questions. Always the same words closed the tale. The executioner had to chase her.